So Prune is going to be our newest 4-star addition to the game, and she can actually be a great budget best in slot teammates for a lot of teams. In this video I'll be helping you guys build your Prune and also use her in the right place, including the free-to-play friendly building guide. But if you're trying to get Prune or any other characters and you just cannot save enough Primo gems, I have a solution for you. You should head to U7Buy, your ultimate gaming hub for safe, fast, and cheap in-game top-ups. From Genshin Impact to all of your favorite titles. The Genshin Impact's direct top-up page lets you recharge instantly. Check this out for example. The 8,080 Genesis Crystals price on the official store is going to be $99.99, which is so expensive. But on U7Buy, you notice that the storefront displays similar prices to the in-game store. But don't worry, the magic all happens in checkout. Once you click the Buy Now button, your total instantly drops to the actual discounted prices. And it can drop even more if you use my code Camilo. How to buy is also super easy. Just type your user ID, select your server and region, pay securely, and your account is going to be loaded instantly. It's that easy. Check the link in the description or the pinned comment to visit U7Buy, and remember to use my code Camilo for an extra 8% discount. Alright, so first of all, starting off with her kit and role. I'm going to explain it super simply without Hoyo's weird wording. So basically, she's just going to be an Anemo sub DPS and also buffer. Her whole kit revolves around her just dealing damage with her elemental skill and elemental burst. And when she swirls, she can give some buffs to your teammates. That's pretty much it really. Her elemental skill and bursts are just going to be dealing damage, and then from her passives, she can give your teammates some buffs. Those passives are going to be the first passive. It's just whenever you deal damage with her elemental conversion, just whatever, it's going to buff the normal charged or plunging attacks or elemental skill and burst damage of your other party members based on Prune's attack up to a maximum of 50%. So it can give you up to 50% damage bonus to your normal attack, charge attacks, and the other types. The second passive is also gonna buff the Hex Array characters, but it's specific for only Hex Arrays, but it can give them up to 30% attack, which is also pretty good. So those are her only two supportive capabilities, and they're just gonna come from her passive. And again, as I said, it might seem a little complicated how her kit works, but when it comes to like practical like playstyle for like what you need to do with Prune, you don't really need any of these stuff. You don't need to understand any of it. You just switch to Prune, do your elemental skill, do your elemental burst when it's ready, and all of this is just gonna happen automatically. The swirls are just gonna automatically happen. The damage is gonna automatically happen. You don't need to really worry about anything. She's actually one of the most simple characters to play in terms of like what you actually need to do with her. So yeah, she's pretty simple. She deals some Anemo and elemental damage off field, and also gives you some damage bonus buffs and also some attack buffs to the Hex Ray characters. That's pretty much it with Prune. Now moving on to her talent priorities. So as I said, she's a sub DPS slash support. Unfortunately, her sub DPS damage is not really going to be the greatest. And then her supportive capabilities are not really going to scale with any of her talents that are going to be upgradable. All of them are just going to be from the passives. So you don't really need to upgrade anything, honestly. If you want some extra damage in general, you can upgrade your elemental burst and skill. Probably start with your elemental burst and then skill just for that extra damage. But in general, you don't really need them. Just upgrade them to like a decent level, maybe level 8, because their damage in general is not going to be the greatest anyways. She's mostly used for her support, and her support is not really going to scale with any talent. Even part of her damage is going to scale with the passive only with a fixed like multiplier. So yeah, you can upgrade the burst and the skill if you want to, but they're definitely not necessary. Alright, now moving on to her constellations, we're going to go through them very quickly. So I'll just tell you what each of them is going to give you. The first one is that basically when you deal the damage thing, the converted damage, it's just going to give you energy. So it can give you 2 energy every 1.8 seconds, and that's going to be pretty good. It's going to help her out reach her elemental burst faster and burst on uptime, which is going to be, you know, kind of important with Prune. Usually you'll need to build some energy recharge on her anyways, but with this constellation you can build less. So yeah, C1 is pretty great in my opinion. C2 is basically just extra attack for Prune. You'll need to build a lot of attack on her, so that's also pretty decent, but it's not really necessary. C3 is just level of your elemental burst. It's just going to up your damage multipliers, and that's pretty much it, so it's not really much. C4 is basically just extra damage. You're just going to deal some extra hits, so that's decent I guess, but not much either. C5 is going to increase the level of your elemental skill, also just the multipliers, so nothing really special. And then C6 is going to increase the duration of your elemental burst by 4 seconds, which is pretty good. And then it's going to give Prune and the current active party member 350 attack for 5 seconds. And it can be repeatable, it just happens by triggering any elemental reaction. So 350 attack is going to be pretty valuable for both Prune and also probably your main DPS on field. So that's a super good constellation, especially for C6. It's pretty decent. I don't really think it's necessary. It's not really going to change her. But yeah, it's going to give more attack to the active party member. They don't need to be Hex Ray or anything like that. I think it's a pretty decent C6. But yeah, for constellations, I like C1 and C6. If you're going for any of them, sure, but none of them really changed like the fundamental way she's played. Alright, now moving on to her weapon options. When it comes to Prune, she's only gonna scale with attack. As I said before, her damage is not gonna be the greatest anyways, so you probably don't want to build crit on her. And also for you to maximize her damage bonus, you'll need a lot of attack, like around 4,000 attack. So that's gonna require a lot of attack. So basically what you'd want on your weapon, you just want weapons with a super high base attack or attack buffs. That's pretty much it. Preferably with a higher base attack, because then all of your attack buffs are gonna scale better. Some energy recharge on the weapon is not gonna be bad too. So that leaves us with a few options honestly. Any 5-star weapons that are going to have a high base attack or give you attack are going to be pretty good. So you have stuff like the Skyward, the Memory of Dusk, Crane's Echoing Call, Nicole's Weapon, Cashflow Supervision, Vivid Notions. All of these are going to be very good weapons. Just high base attack, they give you some sort of attack buffs. All of these are going to be pretty good. For 4-star options, the best one is probably going to be the Outsworn Eye. Pretty good as a 4-star, it's just decent base attack and also some energy. That's pretty good. The Wine and Song is also a decent option. And the Favonius is not really the greatest for her specifically. It's going to have a lower base attack and then only give you energy recharge, but it's always not a bad weapon for like support characters because it's going to help out her energy and then also help out your whole team's energy. So it's always going to be valuable. And for like the best pure free to play option on her, I'd probably say it's going to be the Thrilling Tales. Again, it's not really the greatest weapon for Prune herself, but in general, it's a support weapon that can also support your main DPS. So for support character, those are always going to be pretty good. You can just use it as a supportive weapon and it's probably going to result in like equal value or at least closer value to where if you use like a super good weapon on Prune. But yeah, that's it really for weapons. Just anything that can give you attack and specifically higher base attack or any supportive capabilities is going to be pretty good with Prune. Alright, now moving on to her artifacts. Starting off with her artifact sets. Her best set that you can use, and I honestly think is going to be pretty important for her. I don't really like any other options besides it. It's just going to be the Viridescent. The Viridescent is a pretty simple set. It's just going to give you that resistance shred, which is going to be a super good combination with Prune's other buffs. And also, she's usually just going to be the only Anemo that can do that on the team. So you can just use the Viridescent, and she's going to be giving you that damage bonus, resistance shred from the Viridescent, and then also attack buffs to Hex-Ray characters. That's going to be a super good combination. And it's going to make her the best in slot Anemo in a lot of teams, especially Hex-Ray based teams. So yeah, I think the Viridescent is not really negotiable. You should probably just use it. Now there are other options. For example, you have the Heaven's Gift, the Hex-Ray support set. That's not going to be a bad set. It's going to be giving you damage bonus to your active party member. But the thing is, Prune already gives damage bonus, so it's going to be sort of like a diminishing return sort of thing. So I don't really like it as much. I think you should just use the Viridescent. That's definitely going to be her best in slot set, and it's going to be a big part of why she's going to be good, because she can use the Viridescent as an Anemo. So yeah, just use the Viridescent. Now for artifact stats, it's also going to be pretty simple. For your main stats, you'd want either attack or energy recharge on your sands. You can decide when you see the final stats you'll need a little bit and then see whatever you're lacking, and you can decide between attack or energy recharge. And then on the goblet and circlet, you just want attack really. There's not really much you'd want to go for. For the substats, you just want to get attack or energy recharge. For the attack, it's either attack percentage or like the simple flat attack buffs. All of them are going to be pretty good on Prune, and then energy recharge substats are always going to be appreciated. For the final stats you'd want to have on her, what you'd want to aim for is going to be around 4,000 attack. This is going to be the point where you can max out her buffs. So 4,000 attack is going to be the technical goal, but to be honest, realistically, most people are not really going to be able to reach that. So just get as much attack as you can. Just make sure it's above like 3,000 and you're probably good. But 4,000 is like the ultimate goal. The closer you get, the better, but you don't really need to fully max it. Just do your best. And then also you'll need around 150 to 180 energy recharge. Her burst is going to cost a bit of energy, and it's going to be pretty important for you to activate the buffs, so you'd want to have it on a decent uptime. It depends on the team, but usually 150 to 180 is going to be enough, and even less with C1. With C1, you can probably get away with like 130 to 140 or somewhere around that. But yeah, generally, you definitely want to make sure you have enough energy recharge. And now finally, moving on her team comps. Those are the teams where Prune is probably going to be one of the best options. Like her optimal use case is just going to be with a Hex-Ray main DPS or even sub DPS. She just synergizes with them better. She's able to activate the Hex-Ray buff for them and also for herself, so she can be like the second Hex-Ray support in the team, and she can be a Nemo for them, and she can give them the resistance shred with the Viridescent, the damage bonus, and then also attack buffs. So it's going to be a pretty decent combination. Any team that needs like a general buffer or a Nemo and their Hex-Ray, Prune is probably going to be the best in slot option. So yeah, for most Hex-Ray main DPSs, Prune is going to be the best in slot. So you have teams like Varka, for example. You can use like Varka, Nicole, Durin, and Prune. She can be a great buffer for both Varka and Durin, and with this type of team, honestly, any Hexray main DPS is basically gonna work. So it can either be Klee with the same team, Lohan with the same team, for example. In all of those teams, if you need an Anemo, then Prune is gonna be the best in slot option. So that's the best use case for Prune. Any Hexray main DPS who needs an Anemo, Prune is gonna be the go-to option. Other than that, she can still be used as like a general Anemo for many other teams. It doesn't really need to be like a Hexray or anything like that, but she's best used with at least one other Hexray. So for example, you can use her as like a core with Nicole, and you can have a team with any main DPS, even if they're not Hexrays. So for example, you can have like Risley, Nicole, Prune, and someone like Xiangling. The only Hexrays here are gonna be just Prune and Nicole, and they're gonna be buffing Xiangling and Risley pretty fine. Duran would have probably been like the perfect sub DPS instead of Xiangling, but I'm just giving an example that she can also work without the whole team being Hexray. You can use her as an Anemo for Moika, for example, so you can have like Moika, Shallonen, Nicole, and then Prune, also the same thing. And you can honestly use her even as like a solo Anemo, fully outside of like Hexray teams. So for example, you can use her in a Varessa team. You can have like Varessa, Naida, and then like Prune and someone like Yansan. She can just be used as like an Anemo who's holding the Verdessa, and she's gonna do fine. She can also give some damage bonus, and everything is gonna be fine. Now, she's not gonna be the best in slot in this type of teams, obviously, but you can just use her as like an Anemo with the Verdessa as a replacement for like Kazuha, for example, or Sucrose or whatever if you don't have them, and she's gonna be fine in most of those teams. But yeah, that was it video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.